Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In this video we have another video tutorial for the Cozy Cardigan, which is the one that I'm wearing right now. I really love this sweater, this button-up sweater. I love the texture of the stitch pattern, and I know you love it also because I was posting about this cardigan many times, and I had a great feedback from you. And I know that you've been waiting for this tutorial to come out because I started to work on the sweater back in November, and I'm super happy that I'm finally ready to share this tutorial with you. The construction of the sweater, it has a drop shoulder construction. It is oversized, and it has the modified drop shoulder. We have a few decreases that we're making on the back panel, but if you want a more beginner friendly, you can simply go with the shoulder straight, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, if you're ready, let's get started. I'm super excited to share this video tutorial with you. For this cardigan, I'm using durable cozy fine from Durable Yarn in color jeans and coffee, and we will be using a 4.5mm crochet hook. For the cuffs ribbing, you can switch with a smaller hook size if you want. I will begin with the secondary color, and we will be working the back panel ribbing first. And I will chain 11. I want my ribbing to have 10 stitches wide, to be 10 stitches wide. So I chained 11, and then starting in the second stitch, we will single crochet to the end of the row. Then we will chain 1 and turn. I like to keep the stitches that are at the edge through the both loops, so I will do a regular single crochet into the first, and then a single crochet into the back loop only until we have 1 stitch left, and into the last stitch we will go through the both loops. This is a normal single crochet into the back loop only ribbing. Now the last stitch through both loops, and I'm making the size small, so now I will repeat the second round until I will have 83 rows. You need to keep a multiple of 2 + 1 stitches, and you will need to work as many rows as you want to reach the back panel width. So now I will keep repeating the second round until I will have 83 rows. After we are done with the ribbing, we will cut the secondary color yarn. I'm using this coffee color yarn only for the ribbing, so the rest of the cardigan will be into the color jeans. So now I cut the yarn, and we will rejoin the main color of the cardigan. This is optional. You can use the same color for the entire cardigan. So now I will rejoin the yarn, and we will be working across the ribbing rows. So I'm chaining 2, and this will count as the first stitch. And then in each side row we will work a half double crochet. So this will be the foundation row for our stitch pattern. The stitch pattern will be a variation of half double crochet also, and I will show you right away how we will work this stitch. If you have a multiple of 2 plus 1 stitches, it will be easy to repeat the same row. Otherwise you will need to see the pose of the stitches to better understand how you need to work the stitches. So now we will chain 2, and the chain 2 counts as the first half double crochet, and then we will start into the second stitch with a half double crochet into the back loop, and the next stitch will be through both loops of in the front, and we will alternate the stitches. So 1 half double crochet into the back loop, and then 1 half double crochet into the 2 front loops that we have on the right face of our work. And we will alternate back loop, front loops, back loops, front loops to the end of the row. And this will be the pattern that we will repeat for the entire cardigan. So just alternating these 2 stitches. Well, it's more the pose of the stitch and not necessarily the stitch itself, because it's a half double crochet. At the end of the row, don't forget to work a half double crochet into the second chain, and then we will chain 2 and we will repeat. So first I have a front post, so I will go with a half double crochet into the back loop, and then the next one will be into the front loops, and we will continue to alternate back loop and front loops until we will finish the row. And we will repeat this row until we get to the desired length. I will work in total 45 rows, but feel free to adjust according with the desired length. Now that we reach this point is actually where we're starting to shape the shoulders, and we will work a few short rows to shape the shoulder. And we will begin with 5 slip stitches. At each end we will decrease with 4 stitches, but always when you start with slip stitches you need to position your hook and yarn into the 5th stitch. Then we will chain 2 and we will begin to work our stitch pattern. So now I started with the front loops half double crochet, because this is how my next stitch was showing. So you are looking, if you have the stitch is a bit in the front, then you need to work into the back loop, and if the stitch is a bit into the back, then you need to work through the front loops. And we will work in the same stitch pattern until we have 4 stitches left. When I have 4 stitches left, counting the chain 2 as well, we will simply turn our work because we need to start the row with slip stitches, and we will repeat the same row. I work in total 5 short rows to shape the shoulders, but feel free to go as many rows as you need until you have the desired width of your neckline. Okay, so for my size I will work 5 short rows. I'm making the size small again, if you want, you can simply adjust the number of stitches that you want to decrease at the beginning and at the end of the row. For example, if for the last row you still want to decrease a few more stitches, but it's not necessarily 4, you can do so. So now I will repeat and finish the 5 short rows, and then my back panel is done, and I will cut the yarn first because I do want to start with my front panels, and we will straighten the edge of the shoulders, and we will begin this on the right side of our work. I will start with the right front panel, and I will rejoin the yarn into the first stitch, and I will chain 1. We will work the first straight row in single crochet. So I will work the first 3 single crochet, and then to pass the bridge of the short row, I will do 2 single crochet together, and I will insert the hook first into the 4th stitch that I have before that step, and then into the side row of my next stitch. This will avoid having gaps in between these layers. And then we will continue and work the first 3 stitches or the next 3 stitches. And then again 2 single crochet together into the 4th, and then into the side of the next stitch. And we will continue like this until we will reach the neckline. On the short rows with slip stitches will be a bit difficult to insert the hook. That's why it's important when working those slip stitches to keep them loose. This will make it easier to work into those stitches on this step. I think I missed a stitch here. When you have chain 2 at the edges of the stairs, make sure that you're working into that second chain as well. That counts as a stitch. So this is the row that we have so far. We still have a section to work. And when I'm getting at neckline edge, I will work 2 single crochet from the neckline as well. Again, if you want to shorten the neckline width a bit more, you can work a few single crochet to just go with the shoulder a bit deeper than the short rows. So now the first row that we use to make this edge straighter is done. Now we will chain 1 and turn, and we will work 1 more row in back post single crochet. So we will work the single crochet stitches around each stitch. This will give a nice edge to the shoulder. It's more like making a detail, is not a necessary row, but I think it's looking pretty nice. So single crochet stitches, back post single crochet stitches around each single crochet from the previous row. Make sure to count the stitches, not to forget one, because this might happen to miss one stitch when working in the back post. Because you cannot work around the first and the last stitch. So we will finish with 1 single crochet into the last stitch. After completing these 2 rows, this is how the shoulder edge is looking, and we can now begin to work the front panel. And we chained 2, and we will start into the second stitch, and we will work half double crochet stitches to the end of the row. We will also need to increase to create a slightly V-neck for the cardigan, because we need to the front panel width to have half number of stitches of the back panel width. So for this we will need to increase some stitches, and because of the length of the cardigan, I decided to increase at every row until I add the required number of stitches. But the first row we will add it without any increases, so just half double crochet until the end of the row, and we will begin to increase starting the second row. For my size, I will have to increase 15 stitches, and we will increase only at the front panel edge that is next to the neckline. So now my last half double crochet. So this is the first row, and now we will chain 2 and turn. And here into the first stitch I will have to increase, so I will do into the same stitch as chain 2 a half double crochet, or you can start with one of the stitches in the back loop and or into the front loop if you want. Now we will begin with our stitch pattern. And now, because we are adding 1 stitch with every row, we will need to pay attention to the position of the stitch. So now I started with the front loops, half double crochet, then my next will be a back loop, and I will continue alternating these 2 stitches to the end of the row. And into the second chain we will finish the row with a half double crochet. Okay, we finished the second row, and now we will chain 2 and turn, and now we will need to increase at the end of the row. So I'm looking here how my stitches are looking. So the first one or the second one is a bit in the back, so this means that I will need to work into the front loops, and then I will alternate these 2 stitches until I will get to the second to last stitch. When we are increasing at the end of the row, we will not increase into the chain 2 at the end, but into the stitch before that chain 2. It will make it easier. So now I still have 1 stitch here. I worked a back loop, half double crochet, so now I will go through the front loops, and then I will need to work 1 more stitch, and you can look for the back loop of the same stitch and work 1 half double crochet into the back loop, or if you find it easier, you can work 2 half double crochet into the second chain. I found out after a while that the increases are looking better if you are making them into the second to the last stitch. Now we will turn our work, and it is important to look at the position of our next stitches to know how to work the first increase stitch. So if the stitch is a bit in relief, so it's in front, then I'm counting the stitches to see how to work them at the beginning of the row. And we will continue to work and increase at the end that is next to the neckline until you finish and add the stitches that you need to get to the half width of the back panel. And after finishing with the increases rows, then we will continue to work straight. But for now, let's work this V-neck neckline, and we will meet after finishing this. So for my size, I will have 15 rows, but depending on the size you are making, you might need to add more stitches, which will mean that you will need to work more rows. Okay, I finished 15 rows with increasing. So I have 16 rows in total because I had the first row that I made at the beginning without any increases. And now, because I have a short length of my cardigan, I decided to leave for the pocket depth only 16 rows. And what I will have to do right now is to work straight rows without making any increase until the pocket hole. If you adjusted the length of the cardigan, you might need to work a different number of rows, but if you want to keep the same length and the same depth of the pocket, then I will work 34 rows for my size, or the required number of rows until you have 16 rows left from the front panel. Now I will try to look at the position of the stitches because something might end up differently with what we were used to because of the of the increases, but I try to keep the same multiple of 2 plus 1 stitches to make it easier and to be able to repeat the same row. So now I will continue and work into the established stitch pattern until I will have 34 rows, and for the last 16 rows we will work the pocket hole. Well, not for the last 16 rows because the pocket hole will be only 2 rows, but when you're thinking of the pocket depth, you need to have it on the front panel as well. For the pocket width, I decided to divide the total number of stitches by 2 and have the pocket width half of the number of stitches that I have for the front panel. And remaining stitches, I just split them into before the pocket hole and after the pocket hole. If you want to test it out and change the pocket width, then you can try even using a strand of yarn and try contouring the pocket and see how many stitches, visually, how many stitches you will need for the pocket. So I will work first the 10 stitches, and then I will have 20 stitches for the pocket hole, and I will end up after the pocket hole with 11 stitches, or you can split it into 11, 20 and 10 depending on how you wish. Where do you want to have more stitches? Well, it's only one, but so now I will have to work the number of stitches that are before the pocket hole, and then when I'm reaching the pocket hole, where do I want the pocket to be, I will chain 20 because this is my pocket width, and I will have also to skip 20 stitches. Okay, so I will chain 20 and I have to skip 20 stitches, and then you need to pay attention into your next stitch, the position of the next stitch, and work the half double crochet accordingly, either into the front or into the back loop. So now I will count the stitches to have the same amount of stitches on my front panel edge as the number of chain stitches. Here I will need to insert the hook, and it's a back loop half double crochet according with my work, and then I will continue into the established stitch pattern until I will reach the end of the row. Now we will turn our work, and we will work the same stitch pattern, but on top of the chain stitches we will work on half double crochet because we don't have previous stitches to be able to decide on the position of the stitch, if it's in back loop or into the front loop. And this will be the second row from when we started to work on the pocket. So the remaining rows to the end of the front panel will be 14 rows. So I will have to work 14 more rows to finish the front panel length. Remember, the front panel needs to have the same number of rows as the back panel, but when counting the back panel rows, counting from the neckline and not from the shoulder, because we have those short rows and we need to count from the higher point of the back panel. So now let's just continue and work into the established stitch pattern until we finish the front panel length. Remember that on this row, on top of the chain stitches, you will need to work half double crochet stitches. I just realized that I have no footage for the front panel ribbing, but luckily I have it for the sleeve cuff and it's the same. So after finishing the last row, we will rejoin the secondary color that, as I said at the beginning, I will be using it only for the ribbing. And then we will chain 11 because I want the front panel ribbing to have the same width as the back panel ribbing. I like to have the ribbing worked on the right side of the work because those slip stitches into the front panel edge are looking nicer. After chaining 11, we will turn and work single crochet into each of the following 10 stitches, or as many as you have depending on how wide you want your ribbing to be. And when we are getting at the end, we will work one slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of the front panel edge, and then we will turn. And now we will skip those 2 slip stitches and we will begin to work just into the back loop. So single crochet into the back loop only. And the last stitch, I like to keep it through the both loops. So I will work that stitch on the forward or turning row into both loops. So now I will work single crochet into the back loop up to the last stitch, and the last stitch single crochet through the both loops. Now I will chain 1 and turn, work the first single crochet through the both loops, and then continue with single crochet into the back loop only until we are getting to the edge. And then we will work one slip stitch into the next 2 stitches of the front panel edge. From time to time I'm counting the stitches, making sure that I'm not adding or making one less. Unslip stitch and then turn. And we will keep repeating these 2 rows until we finish the width of the front panel or sleeve cuff or whatever we have. And then we can continue to work on the second front panel, which is the left one. So the left front panel will be worked mirroring the right front panel. So we will need to begin now with the 2 rows that we made for the right panel to straighten the shoulder edge, and I will rejoin the yarn into the second stitch of the neckline, because remember we worked 2 more stitches from the neckline width as well. And now I will go to make the bridge, and I will insert the hook first into the side of the stitch, and for the second leg of the 2 stitches together into the next stitch that is on the bridge there. And then continue with 3 single crochet and then into the side of the stitch of that last stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then into the next stitch So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this step. So basically into the fourth stitch, or the first one over here, and then continue with 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And then going again into the side of that last stitch, and then into the first stitch and work 2 single crochet together. I'm trying to hide the ends also into this row, and we will continue like this until we finish the row and we finish the shoulder edge. You should have in the end the same number of stitches as you had for the shoulder, for the right shoulder. Now for the second row, we will chain 1 and work those back post single crochet stitches. This is the same as we did on the right front panel. And after finishing this row, we will begin to work to the actual front panel. We are not forgetting to work that single crochet into the last single crochet, and now chain 2 and turn. And we will work the first row in half double crochet, 1 half double crochet into each stitch. Remember that we begin to increase starting with the second row, so we will do the same on this left front panel. The only difference between the right front panel and the left front panel is that we will increase at the end of the row on the second row, because this is where the neckline is. So on the right front panel on the second row we increased at the beginning, but now we will increase at the end of the row. We will keep increasing at the end next to the neckline for the next 15 rows in my size, but according with your size or with how many stitches do you need to increase to get to the half of the back panel width, you will work the required number of rows, increasing at every row on the end next to the neckline. So now I will have to go to the second to last stitch, which is front panel, or you can go with 2 half double crochet into the second chain. And now I will increase at the beginning of the row. Again, I'm looking at the position of the stitch to know how to work the first stitch. You can go with a regular half double crochet. You don't need to go into the back or into the front loops, and start working into the stitch pattern, starting with the second stitch in the row. So now let's just continue work the increases rows, and then we will see each other again to talk about the rest of the left front panel. Okay, I reached the pocket hole row. Now I need to work the stitches before the pocket hole, and pay attention to have the same number of stitches as you had at the end of the row when you worked the pocket hole on the right front panel. As I said, I divided the stitches in half, and we have only 1 stitch in plus on this side, but if you have more, then it will be important to have the same number of stitches as on this edge as the right front panel. So I will work 11 stitches, and then I will chain 20 and skip 20 and work the rest of the 10 stitches to the end of the row. This part following the pocket hole row here where we're chaining for the pocket hole is the same as for the right front panel, so you will need to work the remaining rows and then adding the ribbing in the same way as we did for the other front panel. Next, we will mark the side rows that we need for the armhole depth. Remember that you'll have more on the front panel than on the back panel because of the short rows that we worked on the back panel. And then we will begin to work the sleeve right into the armhole stitches. I have placed a two stitch markers marking the sleeve, and according with your tension and how high the stitches at the end are into your side rows, you can adjust the tension. I used as a pattern working 1/2 double crochet for this first row, 1/2 double crochet into the next 3 side rows and 2 half double crochet into the next. This will help to have not too many or less stitches or fewer stitches for the sleeve. So I will work 1, 2 and 3 and into the next side row I will work 2 half double crochet stitches. This will help me keep the proportion in between the stitches and rows, and I will keep repeating that pattern until the shoulder seam or the shoulder edge, and then I will try to work the stitches for the back panel into the mirror. So how I ended the pattern for the front panel next to the shoulder, then I will begin into the same way and continue working on the back panel side rows. You can continue and repeat the same pattern. It won't affect too much, only that this is how I see it logically, so I try to work it like that. If you're working the stitches as I did, but you feel that you will need more or less stitches, I don't know, maybe according with your tension you want to work more often 2 stitches into the same side row, feel free to adjust the number of stitches according with your tension, and the important thing is that the stitches will look nice and even across the armhole. Now I will continue into the same pattern to the second stitch marker, that is marking the end of the row and the end of the sleeve width, and then I will turn the work and we will begin to start working into the main stitch pattern of the cardigan with that stitches into the back loop and into the front loops. I decided for the sleeves to make some decreases, and we will decrease at every 5th row. If you want to taper the sleeve even more, then you can increase the number of decreasing rows. For the shape that I wanted for the sleeves, I said that it's enough to decrease at every 5th row. So now I'm about to work the last stitch over here, and then we will chain 2 and turn, and we will begin to work into the established stitch pattern. I will start with a front loop stitch and then back loop, and continue like this to the end of the row, and we will work 4 rows in total, and then on the 5th row we will make a decrease, and we will meet at the 5th row to show you how to make the decreases, and then we will talk a bit more about the length of the sleeve. Now let me show you the decreases. So we will chain 2 and turn, and we will make a decrease into the 2nd and the 3rd stitch. So I will insert the hook as for a regular stitch into the next one, and then simply go and insert the hook into the next stitch as for a single crochet. Then we will continue to work into the established stitch pattern until we have 3 stitches left, and into the last 2 stitches before the last one we will make the decrease. So at the end of the row the decrease will be the same, so I will insert the hook into the first stitch and then into the next one as for a single crochet, and I will finish the row with a half double crochet into the 2nd chain. Now I will continue to work the rows, the 4 rows before the next increase, and as I said we will the next decrease, and as I said we will decrease at every 5th stitch, but if you want to make more decreases or less, feel free to do so, and we will repeat this decrease pattern until we will reach the desired length, considering that we will work a cuff as well, or until you will have in total the number of stitches, the number of rows that are written in the pattern. I worked in total 44 rows, and now I will switch to a smaller hook size, and I will work 1 more row into single crochet stitches, and I will do some decreases to decrease or to make the edge even narrower. So I started with a decrease, 2 single crochet together, and then 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then another decrease and 1 single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And I will repeat this pattern, this decrease pattern, as many times as I can into the number of stitches that I have for the sleeve's edge, and then I will change the yarn color and we will work the cuff ribbing. For the cuff ribbing we will proceed the same and as for the front panels ribbing. So I will cut the yarn and I will rejoin the 2nd color yarn, or the color that I use for the ribbings. And for the cuffs I will use same 4mm crochet hook for the ribbing, and we will chain 11 and work the ribbing pattern in the same manner as we did it for the front panels. And after finishing the cuff ribbing, we will repeat the same pattern for the 2nd sleeve, and then we will move forward with the other details of the cardigan. Now that we finished both sleeves, we can fold the piece in half, and then we will seam the edges, the side edges of the cardigan. I will be using the ladder stitch to join the cardigan, but you can use any other method that you find it easy or you are used to it, and you will have to make it across the sleeves and the side edges of the cardigan. Now, because I have two colors cardigan, but I didn't want it to use different color for the ribbing and then to switch with the other color, but you can do so if you want a more clean seam, then you can do like so. So for the ladder stitch is the method that I'm using all the time when I want to go and stitch pieces together. So first I'm making a knot into the first stitches just to make sure that I will secure the yarn, and then I'm going into the first stitch and getting out into the second stitch of my right side, and then going into the left side, the same first and second stitch, getting out through the second stitch. I'm trying to catch only the back loops of this ribbing on the left side, because I want to make it look on the right side like it's a continuing pattern. And then I will go again on the right side into the first, which is the same stitch that we pull out the needle before, and getting out with the needle through the next stitch. This is because we are working into the stitches, having this ribbing on the bottom. On the rest of the cardigan I will do the same, only that I will work side row per side row. So there we will not be working with stitches, but the method is the same. So here, when I need to go into the side row, I will go from side row to side row into that side stitch of the row. You can go 2 times per side row, once in the bottom of the stitches and one in the top, but because it was these half double crochet rows are not that high, I went from side row to side row, so not going into the same side row twice. And we will continue like this until we will get to the cuff. As a tip, if you want to stitch the side edges like this, you will need a strand of yarn that is approximately 3 times longer than the length that you need to sew. So maybe this will be helpful. And also another tip is you can use stitch markers from point to point, or safety pins, to make sure that that both sides will stay in place and you are going straight with the seaming. So now let's continue and finish sewing the cardigan, and the next step will be to work the neckline and front panels ribbing, and that will be a bit tricky because we will also have some buttonholes, and I will explain you right away how to do that. Now that we finish assembling the sweater, we are ready to go for the neckline and front panels ribbing. But before that, we will work on foundation row, let's just say it like that, on the right side of the cardigan in single crochet. And because we have this ribbing in brown color and then the rest of the cardigan into blue, I want to not make it so obvious, so I will work into the ribbing. This row I will work it with brown color, and then I will change and work the rest into the blue color. So this is what I will be doing. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just how I thought that it will be better to do it. And when we are working into the ribbing pattern, we will work one single crochet into each side row, and when we are going into the half double crochet ribbing pattern, we will keep the same proportion as we did on the sleeves, and we will be working 1 half double crochet into the next 3 rows, 2 double crochet into the next side row. I will write it down, this pattern, because it will be easier to see it over here. So it will be the same pattern proportionally, but we will work, the only difference is that we will work in single crochet and not in half double crochet as we did for the sleeve. So keep that in mind that we'll be working the ribbings into the brown color, and then we will switch and work into the blue color for the rest of the cardigan, and when we are getting with the other ribbing on the other side, we will switch again to the brown color. Let's continue and make this foundation row, and then we will begin to work to the actual ribbing pattern. Now, after finishing with this foundation row of the ribbing, we will start working on the ribbing pattern. But first, it's important to decide on the buttonholes, and I'm choosing the side, and it's important to do it right now because you don't know if it's at the beginning or at the end. And then what I did, I will mark where I want to be the bottom and the top button, and depending on how many buttons I would like to use, I will divide the remaining number of stitches not to the number of buttons that I have in between, but one more. So if I have one more button in the middle, I will divide the total number of stitches by 2, and if I have 2 buttons, by 3. So at first I wanted to use 4 buttons, and then I decided that 3 would look better, but you will need to put them and see how it look like. I decided to have the buttonholes on the left side of the cardigan. This was helpful because I started to work from the right side, and if the buttons are not correct, or I don't like them from the first try, then you will be able to undo not the entire ribbing but only the part with the buttons. So might keep this in mind. So after you decided on how many buttons you would like to use, and you divided the section into equal parts, or adjusting the stitches just to keep a certain proportion, then here's how you will have to work the actual buttonholes. When you have the stitch marked over here, and is the second one from when you're starting to work the ribbing, this means that the buttonhole will be on the turning row, so not on this row that we're working right now, but on the turning one. If the stitch marker will be into the first stitch right next one, then you will have to work the buttonhole into this forward row. I choose 2 centimeters buttons diameter, and I let 2 stitches for the buttonhole. My ribbing has 10 stitches in total, so I worked 4 stitches before the buttonhole, then 2 stitches the buttonhole, and 4 stitches after the buttonhole. So here is my first button. So 1 slip stitch. The second one will be into the mark stitch. So now when I'm turning the row, I will need to create the buttonhole in the middle. So I will work first the 4 stitches into the back loop only, and then I will chain 2 and skip 2. And when you are working the next row, on the top of the chain stitches, you will work regular single crochet. So now chain 2 and skip 2 stitches and work the remaining stitches to the end of the row. And we will keep doing this until we finish this side of the ribbing as well. Remember, if you have the stitch marker right into the next stitch, when you are at the edge of the ribbing, then you will have the buttonhole to make in this forward row. If it's in the second stitch, then you will do it into the turning row. Okay, now that we finished with the buttons, and I already worked a pocket already, but I will show you right away how to work the inside linen of the pocket first. So we will rejoin yarn into the bottom stitches into the top stitches, the bottom how we are looking at the top stitches of the pocket. And it's good that we have the stitches, not the chain stitches but the regular pattern, so we can follow and work the inside of the pocket into the same stitch pattern. So I will chain 2 after rejoining the yarn, and then I will follow the position of the stitch and work into the established stitch pattern the inside of the pocket as well. The stitch pattern is pretty dense for the pocket, and it will be easier for me to know how many rows to work, because I will have to work the same number of rows as we let for the pocket depth, which in our case were 16 rows. But if you adjusted pocket depth, then the inside of the pocket will need to have the same number of rows. If you prefer, you can go with one stitch into the exterior, because this will avoid having any holes on the pocket corners. But anyways, we will work ribbing, a small ribbing for the pocket as well, and that will hide everything. So let's just continue and working into the same pattern until we will have 16 rows. So now the last stitch, and we can go even farther if you want with a regular half double crochet, just a bit farther, and then we will continue and chain 2, turn, and we will work 15 more rows to finish the inside of the pocket. Now that we finished, this is how it's looking, and on the inside of the front panel we will have to sew the pocket edges, and we will try to make it as less visible as we can. So grab only the surface of the stitches, not going through the front panel right side. And again, it will be helpful if you are using some safety pins to keep this piece in place. This will make it easier for you to go around and stitch this pocket to the front panel. Okay, we finish, and now the inside of the pocket is attached with the front panel, and as I said, we will work small ribbing into the brown color. It will be into the same with the same technique as the other ribbings that we did for the front panel, for the collar edge, and so on. Only that we will only work it with 5 stitches. So we will rejoin the yarn, the brown color yarn, into the corner of the pocket, and we will chain 6, and then we will start to work the ribbing pattern. Because we have chain stitches over here, I think it will be easier to work the slip stitches in between the stitches and not through that loop of the chain, to make the grip a bit stronger and firmer. So now let's chain 6 and then single crochet to the end of the row, and then slip stitches into the next 2 stitches of the pocket. After finishing the entire width of the pocket, we will use the end to stitch the ribbing with the front panel. And it'll be easier if you're letting or leaving a longer end when starting to work on this ribbing. It will be easier to use it for sewing. So the same method as for the inside of the pocket, we will try to pick up all the surface of the stitches from the front panel to make it less visible. Although on this ribbing of the pocket, the stitches will be on the inside of the cardigan, so it won't be that visible, but we would like to keep everything what we make it as neat and clean as possible. And after finishing with this ribbings of the pocket, the cardigan is finally done. All we need to do is to weave in all the ends and of course to sew the buttons if you didn't do it already. And and the cardigan is ready to wear. I hope you'll enjoy this video tutorial. I know it's pretty long, but I had to cover all the details to make it easier for you to make it. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you love your cardigan, and see you next time. Bye.